So Jieh Dao is a very unique art. It's what I would say a blend of science and art put together. And that was the intent that I had in the beginning. I wanted to make sure that there's logic behind the art, there's science behind the art, as well as there's the artistic aspect of the art, obviously. So it's a blend of science and art together, and it's a revolutionary art. Well, what I mean by that is that it challenges the traditional thoughts to consider the non-traditional methods in a logical and rational way. Right now there's a lot of mixed martial arts, so-called, that exist, and which is good. They are training the people in a different arts in one arena, but what I fail to see in those mixed martial arts or any arts, so-called, and any science, there's a lot of brutal fighting, especially the MMA that they portray on TV and the tournaments that they have. So what sets Jieh Dao apart from those other arts, first of all, I do not call our art a mixed martial art. It is not. It's one art. It's one art that embodies liberated elements from various aspects and various arts, which I extracted those elements, absorbed those elements, and refined them and added a lot of different variation, the stylish variation to those elements, and then made them in a systematic way. Gave them concept, gave them philosophies based on the biblical philosophies that were in my mind and my heart as I formulated the art. So the way I teach the art is based on certain objectives, and at the same time, those objectives are being displayed and trained by the subjective way that each student can handle and understand the art. So getting back to the traditional versus non-traditional, the core of the art from the physical perspective is what I call a liberated Jeet, meaning from my background training in Jiangfan martial arts and Jeet concepts and JKD principles, I took those elements, the JKD elements, the physical elements that had validity and had truth in them, and I extracted those and maintained those, but I refined them. I do not teach them the way it was handed to me, the way I learned it. I refined them, I restructured them, and finally dispositioned them, put them in a different place, gave them a different meaning, and basically amplified many of those elements by adding my own way of expressing those elements. For example, Bang Sao, which is a wing arm type of a element of Wing Chun, but I divided into a high and low and three section. I divided into a out, center, and in Bang. And I do the same thing with all the other elements that I learn, and also the combination, the routines, and many of the other elements that are the structure of our curriculum are very, very unique in Jieh Dao. It's unique and exclusive to Jieh Dao. So getting back to the liberated Jeet, those elements that I extracted, now in Jieh Dao, they hold a different meaning. They hold a different position, and their status is different. Their terms may be different. Application and usage may be different. One thing I would say about Jieh Dao is that it challenges and guides a student toward a logical, rational, correct way of thinking and understanding combat, which are all based on the ultimate truth. So that is a definition from structural perspective of what the Jieh Dao martial art means. Now, there are some differences between JKD and SJD. JKD is short for Jeet, SJD obviously short for Jieh Dao. To just name a very few of those differences. And there are a lot of similarities, but I like to mention a few of the differences between the two. Jieh Dao includes parameters and structure. Jeet does not include any parameter nor structure. Jieh Dao is an art with absolutes and relatives, as I mentioned before, has objective and subjective. And all of its relativities are basically bound and subject to their absolutes and objectives, where Jeet is an art without any absolutes and does contain purely all relativities. Jieh Dao is a highly rational art in terms of its philosophies, doctrines, and elements. And what I mean by that is it not only will define the philosophy, doctrines, elements, and nature, but also defend them rationally, logically, objectively, all due to its apologetic nature. Whereas Jeet Kune Do is an inconsistent art, meaning it's not really definable. You go out to 5 different people, they'll define it in a different way. I'm not talking about the 5 ways of attack or, lap sao, pak sao, and jab. Those are all just the core element that Sigmund Bruce put together. I'm talking the art as a whole, the entire art itself. So Jeet Kune Do is inconsistent, meaning it's not definable, in the sense that it cannot consistently define nor defend its philosophies, doctrines, or elements. Why? Because it's purely a new age, subjective, relativistic martial art. That's its nature. Now, Jieh Dao is purely combative in nature, and I've basically dissected and discarded all the other elements, non-essential, non-practical elements. Jeet Kune Do is also very combative in nature. However, due to its highly subjective and relative formation and its lack of absolutes, it honestly cannot consistently discard everything that is non-practical. And it eventually leaves adequate room for impracticality or the things that are just feeling-wise or unrelated and useless elements.